My opponent claims that my assertion that she did not address the resolved is ridiculous, because it's implied from her stance as the proposition that she'll be arguing for the resolved. Well, you see, it's not implied that the proposition will be explicitly arguing in favor of the resolved. In fact, in the arena of debate, the proposition team can argue whatever they like, and it's the job of the negative team to respond to the arguments presented by the affirmative accordingly. I mean, while we're on the topic of the debate, it is important to note that a plan introduced in debate by the affirmative must in some way alleviate the harms of the status quo. Now my opponent fails to elucidate the harms of the current animal testing process by citing large cases of death or citing cases of animal torture. Now let it be clear that she has not done this, and that if she chooses to include these statistics in her last speech, she will be violating the rules of the debate. The only apparent harm presented by my opponent in her argument is that animal testing violates the principle of the Belmont Report because the animals tested do not give the consent to be tested. Now, allow me to inform both my opponent and the judge that the full title of the Belmont Report is Belmont Report, Ethical Principles and Guidelines for the Protection of Human Subjects of Research, report of the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. Yes. The Belmont Report guarantees the protection of human subjects. It makes no mention to the protection of animals or animal consent at all. So the only harm that my opponent even chose to elucidate is not even a valid harm. Meanwhile, here are the harms that would occur were animal testing banned completely, as my opponent plans to do, and as I have elucidated. Science and medicine would be crippled. Now my opponent says that this is not the case, yet she cites no experts in the field of science or medicine to support this claim. Her claim comes strictly from her own opinion, while I have quoted two highly qualified experts in the field of medicine and science, Ack Botting and Adrian Morrison, who both claim that animal research is key to the advancement of medicine and science. And while my opponent fails to craft a plan for banning animal testing that would eliminate the harms of the status quo, I have constructed a counterplan that bans animal testing in the cosmetic field and keeps it intact for advancing medicine and science. It is clear, seeing that 2/3 of all animal testing deaths come from cosmetic testing, according to ColumbiaCruelty.com, that this would mitigate the harms of testing while maintaining testing's supreme benefits. In my proposed plan, the benefits outweigh the harms tremendously. In my opponent's plan, the harms of banning animal testing are, in fact, worse than the harms of the current status quo. My opponent also makes a number of bold claims without any evidence to support her claims. Specifically, she states that the new cancer drugs add an average of 3 months to life. She cites no website, no article, or no person with regard to this. This fact is as good as made up on the spot by my opponent and should therefore be discredited. She also claims that I have agreed that an animal life is worth the same as a human life. I did no such thing. I simply entertained the prospect to humor your argument, and I think I made that quite clear. I will now address the value of a human life compared to that of an animal life, and let it be clear that yes, animal life has great value, but human life is far more valuable. My grandpa died of cancer, and I've had pets before. I've had a dog, a rabbit, and 3 fish. I love animals. But if someone asked me to sacrifice the life of my pets to preserve the life of my grandfather, I'd do it in a heartbeat, and then I'd do it again. And now I address you, Anka. If you truly believe that you, if placed in that situation, would allow your grandpa to die so that your pet could live, I'm sorry for you. You are a cold-hearted person. My counterplan to ban animal testing in the cosmetic field, but not with regard to science and medicine, is the answer to the animal testing problem. It reduces harms drastically and has great benefits. My plan is well supported by research and facts and quotes from experts in their fields. My opponent's plan is poorly laid out, not supported by factual evidence, and will no doubt cause more harm than it will help.